All right, guys. So the Republican Party has now released a new plan, to for the upcoming midterm elections. They're saying this is what we're running on. This is what we stand for. I want to stop and go through this here with you. So Newt Gingrich in the 1990s, when Republicans took back the House majority, he did this thing called the Contract with America, or Contract for America. And it was a whole bunch of issues that they thought were popular issues for them. And they did win, but then they weren't able to get much of it done because, they were dealing with a Democratic president. In many ways, Bill Clinton was in favor of many Republican policies, but perhaps not the Newt Gingrich-style right-wing policies. So now we have the Commitment to America. It was Contract for America or Contract with America. Now it's Commitment to America. And it was Newt Gingrich who helped craft this thing behind the scenes. Now, this is attempt number 2 by the Republicans to come up with some sort of broad agenda. The first one was done by Rick Scott, the Republican senator from Florida. And Mitch McConnell basically rejected it out of hand. And Mitch McConnell had to, play defense because a lot of the stuff in Rick Scott's plan, it wasn't stuff that you run on. It was basically, let's privatize Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. What? That's not something you're going to win on. That's something that we say in smoke-filled back rooms when nobody's paying attention to us. That's not something you say publicly. People don't like that. My other one, my favorite provision was the everybody's got to have skin in the game provision, where they said we're going to raise taxes on the poorest 50% of Americans. How are you going to run on raising taxes for working class people? Why, are you insane? But that's what he did. So that went nowhere. McConnell was furious at Rick Scott for making their chances worse. McConnell's plan was literally, let's run on nothing. Let's the entire Republican Party don't say a goddamn word. Let the Democrats implode on their own, and we'll just win because we are not the Democrats. That was his idea. Now, that was the proper strategy for a while, because Biden was down at a 33% approval rating, and the Democrats were plummeting in popularity. But the Democrats had a string of legislative victories recently, and Biden's approval has shot up massively. So now they can't just run on nothing. They got to come up with something, and this is what we got. So this is their website. This is in republicanleader.gov, the Commitment to America. So here's what they're running on. An economy that's strong. I'm in favor of a strong economy, not a weak economy like you. I love how, this is shit that you could write on a fucking fortune cookie, and they're running on it. A nation that's safe. I'm pro-safety. I'm against chaos. Wow, what a brave stance you took there. A future that's built on freedom. From the same people who just voted against gay marriage, 157 of them in the House. From the same people who just voted against a right to have contraception and birth control. So they voted against condoms too. 195 votes said it's not a right to have birth control, whether it's Plan B, the pill, condoms, you name it. They want states to be able to ban that. From the party that still opposes legalizing marijuana. A future that's built on freedom. What freedom? For who? What does that mean? Well, we'll get to more on that in a second. And then we have a government that's accountable. Brought to you by the same people who just had a billionaire funnel them tens of millions of dollars. Brought to you by the same people, and we'll get to this story tomorrow, that Saudi Arabia just gave them nearly $100 million. A government that's accountable. You're taking money from billionaires and foreign dictatorships. A government that's accountable. You're not in favor of that. So anyway, let's go, because this is great. I read through this the other day, and they don't really have any specific plans. They just have these platitudes that they throw out there. So let's go to an economy that's strong. Fight inflation. Lower the cost of living. Everyone knew that wasteful Washington spending would spur inflation. By the way, let me pause there. That is not even what's leading to the inflation. For the love of God. Look into it. One of the things is the supply chain is all messed up because of the pandemic. That's leading to inflation. The other thing is corporate profits are leading to inflation. They have record high profits right now. Matt Stoller estimates that about 60% of inflation is because of corporate profits. Monopolies are leading to inflation. Like, I know their whole thing of government spending bad, but you have to accurately diagnose where the inflation is coming from in order to solve it. But what they mean is let's just stop spending government money. Let's reduce it massively. And that'll help fight inflation. That's their theory. Well, when you reduce government spending massively, you're going to hurt the working class. Millions in hard-working taxpayer dollars were sent to luxury resorts and ski slopes. That's the shit that you guys supported. These guys, all of the bailouts that went to big business and the wealthy, those were the bailouts that these guys loved. They just didn't want any help for working class people. Even stimulus checks to prisoners like the Boston Marathon bomber. Yet after more than a year of crushing inflation, Democrats still have no plan to solve it. Actually, the Fed is now jacking up interest rates to fight inflation. And unfortunately, it may lead to stagflation. But Biden is sitting idly by as the Fed is like destroying the economy, and he thinks it's like the right thing to do, which is incredibly terrifying. Because if the Democrats lose in the midterm elections, that will be why. Because the Fed jacked up interest rates and led to mass unemployment, a giant spike in unemployment, and you might still not even get inflation under control. Because again, if it's caused by the supply chain and by monopolies, then the interest rate approach is not really the way you address it. So they say fight inflation. How? What do you want to do? All I can surmise from this is like lower government spending, which again hurts the population, doesn't help the population. All right, more. Make America energy independent. Reduce gas prices. How? How do you want to do that? Not long ago, America was the largest energy producer in the world, and gas was affordable. Okay, we are still the number one energy producer in the world. The Biden administration then halted energy projects, shut down pipeline construction, and took every step to discourage the production of American energy resources. Americans shouldn't have to choose between driving to work and putting food on the table. Okay. All of these pipelines that these guys bitch and moan, like, oh, this pipeline's not getting built. Like the Keystone XL, for example. All of that is set to be outsourced. It's going to be exported. It's not, that energy is not coming back to America to be used in America. We're selling it overseas. So the idea that would impact domestic prices is a misnomer. Now, by the way, if you want to be energy independent, good, I agree with you. You know how you do that? You nationalize our oil and gas, and then we can prioritize exactly how you want to spend it domestically. But they don't want to do that. They want it to be privatized. And if Exxon decides to ship it overseas, they're like, rock on, that's cool. They're so annoying because they don't have any real solutions. So in other words, so far we have inflation is bad and gas prices are high. Okay, what are you going to do about that? Strengthen the supply chain and end dependence on China. Oh, this one gets under my skin, man. The majority of Republicans voted against the CHIPS Act, which was to bring back microchip manufacturing in the U.S. to make us less dependent on China, specifically less dependent on Taiwan, because most of the microchips come from there. You guys are against onshoring jobs. Trump pretended like he was this big anti-outsourcing guy. There were hundreds of thousands of jobs were outsourced under Donald Trump. He incentivized it in his tax bill, his 2017 tax bill. So when they say independence on China, you guys aren't in favor of revitalizing the American working class and bringing factories back. I wish you were. The frightening supply shock of baby formula this year was the tip of the iceberg of a broken supply chain that has increased costs and left store shelves empty. You guys voted against using the Defense Production Act to make the baby formula. You can't complain about the baby formula thing when you were against the fucking solution for it. Oh my God, these guys are so insufferable. They are so goddamn insufferable. They're not in favor of strengthening the supply chain. They're not in favor of ending dependence on China. Show me a so-called free trade agreement, and I will show you 90 to 98% of the Republican Party voting for it. Now they're like, oh, what happened to all of our jobs? Why are we so dependent on China, bro? This is crazy. Oh, what a colossal joke. So, by the way, that's all we got here. This is all we got in the economy portion of their plan. So we want a strong economy, not a weak economy. Oh, so that's so brilliant. That's a genius plan. We want to fight inflation. We want lower gas prices, and we want to end our dependence on China, even though we're in favor of every policy that makes us more dependent on China. All right, let's continue. A nation that's safe. I'm in favor of safety. I'm against chaos. Are you? It takes a while for this stupid fucking site to load. I don't know what they were doing. Reduce crime and protect public safety. As a result of defund the police efforts, law enforcement officers around the country are facing the toughest working conditions in years, to say nothing of the liberal prosecutors and district attorneys who fail to do their job and keep criminals off the streets. At the same time, illicit fentanyl is flowing into our country and robbing an entire generation of Americans from a chance at the life they deserve. Okay, they're talking about fentanyl. They are not prepared to do what is necessary to defeat the fentanyl crisis. Because, okay, follow my logic on this here. We used to have a pain pill problem. That would lead to some overdoses, it's true. We cracked down on those pain pills because we had an overdose problem. And then what happened was the people who were addicted to the pain pills started going to the black market to get heroin to get their fix. Turns out that heroin, a lot of it is tainted with fentanyl, and people are dying from doing heroin. So the real problem was the pendulum swung too far in the other direction in terms of the pain pills. We cracked down on those so hard that people went to a different illicit substance, a more dangerous one, and now more people are dying as a result of it. So again, the solution is to end the drug war. Legalize, tax, and regulate drugs. Free the nonviolent drug offenders. This is the solution. This is how you reduce doses. There were more deaths from alcohol back when there was prohibition against alcohol because of bad batches that were unregulated. The same thing is going on here. They're not prepared to do that. They're not prepared to do that. If anything, they just want to crack down harder, do the drug war even more. And then for them to say, well, you're tough on crime, that's what we are, bro. You guys are led by Donald Trump, who's under like 72 investigations, who commits 3 crimes every day before lunch. You guys are the ones who were screaming, defund the FBI like 7 minutes ago. And this idea of like Democrats are running on defund the police everywhere. Okay, first of all, they're not. Second of all, Biden just announced a plan to try to hire 100,000 more cops. These guys, they don't have any real ideas. None of their ideas are real. Reduce crime, protect public safety. Oh, please. Defend America's national security. President Biden has managed America's security from a position of weakness and incompetence. He failed to stand up to the brutal Chinese Communist Party. What does that mean? What do you want to do to stand up to the brutal Communist Chinese Party? What do you want to do? What exactly are you in favor of? Do you have any new sanctions? War? Like, what do you want to do? They're not going to say anything. Sought to cut deals with the radical Iranian regime that would endanger America and our ally Israel. Oh, please. So remember, Donald Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear agreement. And what has happened since then? They said, oh, okay, I guess we will make a nuke if you guys don't want to abide by this agreement. And now they're closer to a nuclear weapon than they've ever been before. Because you pulled out of the deal. Now, when we were in the deal, what happened? The IAEA reports, the International Atomic Energy Agency says they were following the deal to a T. There were no problems. So we had a deal, we had peace. Trump pulled out of the deal, the Republicans wanted out of the deal, and now we're closer to a nuclear weapon, and they turn around and blame Biden and blame the Democrats. So, no, the deal was the way to go. By the way, this is something Trump understood the logic of this. When it came to North Korea, he was negotiating with North Korea. He was negotiating with Kim Jong-un. Any sort of deal, any potential deal you would have with North Korea would be the same framework as what happened in Iran. So why does he realize that's the case with North Korea but doesn't realize it with Iran? Because his whole foreign policy was just stemmed from this anti-Obama mentality. Whatever Obama did, I want to do the opposite. And so he ripped up that agreement. So the solution is the agreement. Promoted Russian energy and directly caused the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan that killed 13 brave U.S. So in other words, now they're saying, well, maybe we shouldn't have gotten out of Afghanistan. One of the only decent things Biden did. One of the few decent things Biden did. Now, the problem with Biden's policy towards Afghanistan is that now he's starving the country by stealing billions of dollars of their own money from them. That's the problem. The pulling the troops out, that was a good thing. And they're like, oh man, the withdrawal was terrible and we're against that. Okay, so what, do you want to stay forever? This is not a serious document. All right, that was it. That was it for the for the national security portion here. A nation that's safe. That's all we got. That's all there is. I mean, this is a joke. All right, we got two more. Let's go to it here. A future that's built on freedom. Again, let me reiterate. Are they in favor of legalizing, taxing, and regulating drugs? No. Okay, then you're not for freedom. Shut the fuck up pretending you're for freedom. Do you want to legalize physician-assisted suicide? Somebody has cancer, stage 4, and they're in excruciating pain. Should they have a right to die? They're not in favor of that. So don't say you're in favor of freedom. Are you in favor of a woman's right to choose? They're not in favor of that. So stop with the whole freedom, we believe in freedom. No, you don't. What you believe in is freedom for business owners to tell their employees to do whatever the fuck they want them to do. So they're in favor of little capitalist fiefdom dictatorships. That's what they're in favor of. That's what they mean by freedom. Well, let's see in their own words what they think freedom is. Make sure every student can succeed. Oh, so are you in favor of eliminating the student loan debt? Because that definitely holds students back. Are you in favor of what Biden did with the reduction? No, you're not. We know you're not. Make sure every student can succeed. Give parents a voice. When schools shut down, they're still doing the anti-shutdown stuff as if we're not totally past that as a nation. Biden never did a lockdown. He never did a shutdown. And he's clear he's never going to. So what are they talking about with, we're against lockdowns? Congrats on having a fucking political dialogue that's a year and a half old. When schools shut down, teachers' unions still got paid, but students bore the costs. So, nice little shot at teachers' unions there, because we know how much these people hate unions. God forbid the workers get represented. All studies show that virtual schooling has caused severe learning and developmental loss. Nobody's doing virtual schooling anymore, dude. What are you talking about? What's worse, when parents tried to understand what their children were being taught and how their tax dollars were being spent, they were just ignored. They were targeted by this administration. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I'm sure there's some underlying subtext of like trans this or that, and we don't like that they're teaching gender ideology. You have to like decode this through 4 different layers of, right-wing code here. All right. Achieve longer, healthier lives for Americans. Okay, what? One way to do that is to have a universal healthcare system. You want to do that? No, of course you don't. America is home to the best medical care in the world. Come on, bro. There's no way they believe this. The World Health Organization says we're 37th. 37th. Now, granted, that's an old study. It's from the year 2000, and we're way past that now, so they'd have to do updated one. But we know that the Commonwealth Fund studies this like every other year or something like that. And they found that we are ranked 11th out of the 11 that they study. Worst of the developed nations. But this is like, when you're a far-right politician, you could just say shit like this. You don't need facts or evidence or data. America is the home to the best medical care in the world, thanks to talented doctors and innovative treatments. But Democrats are determined to squander all these advantages by imposing a top-down, one-size-fits-all government approach from Washington that will only lead to rationed care and worse services. We ration care right now. You absolute slugs. We do it right now. But the way we do it now is through what's called a wallet biopsy. If you don't have insurance, if you don't have money, perhaps you get screwed and you don't get help. What they attempt to do in other healthcare systems, where it's universal healthcare systems, is ration it by need. Oh, do you need help right now? Right now? Okay, you're going to get it. You have an elective procedure, maybe you have to wait 2.5 weeks to 4 weeks for that, right? That's a better system the way they do it versus the way we do it. It's not even close, man. It is not even close. And I like how they're acting like Democrats want to do socialized medicine. I wish they did. I wish they did. They don't. I wish they did. They do not. Confront big tech and demand fairness. See, this is one that is super annoying because, as Matt Stoller points out, he's a big anti-monopoly guy, and he's big on like breaking up big tech. He's like, the Republicans on these committees have had a number of opportunities to prove that they're serious about confronting big tech, and they never do, ever. Why? Because they all take money from big tech, and then they turn around and do favors for those companies, even though they posture against them, because like, oh, the social media censorship is so bad, and you're coming after the right, so we're against you. Anyway, do you want another tax break? Do you want another subsidy? This is what's going on. So again, this is nonsense. And that's all we got in this plank. I mean, this is, again, I don't know how you can call this a serious agenda for the country. And then finally we get a government that's accountable. A government that's accountable. That's good. From the people who are swimming in billionaire money, corporate PAC money, Saudi Arabian money, Israeli money. Preserve our constitutional freedoms. No administration should pick and choose which freedoms it will preserve and for whom. This represents a government totally out of touch with the values on which our country was founded. It's time we remember that all men and women are created equal and endowed with God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What are you saying? What are you saying? This is like a fifth grader writing a book report and just filling the page with fluff. You're not saying anything. You are not saying anything. Hold Washington accountable. Government should work for the people, not against them. But under one-party rule, Democrats have used their power to silence critics and avoid genuine scrutiny. When faced with obvious abuses of power, Democrats in Congress simply bury their heads in the sand. I don't know what any of this means. This fortune cookie-ass agenda. Restore the people's voice. Democrats have sought to undermine the constitutional principle of one person, one vote by rejecting common sense changes the majority of Americans support. In the House, Dems created a voting by proxy system that allows members of Congress to get paid without ever needing to show up for work. What are you talking about, man? These are the people who are in favor of gerrymandering, are in favor of like voter ID laws, which it's been proven that what happens in those situations is poor voters and a lot of people of color don't end up voting as a result of voter ID laws because it's a pain in the ass sometimes to get an ID. And then what happens is turnout drops massively. When turnout drops massively, that biases it in favor of the Republicans. So they have all of these like highfalutin ways of trying to suppress the vote in a pseudo-legal way so that they can win. And then they turn around and act like, oh, see, this is what a fair election looks like. No, you just rigged it in every way imaginable to try to bias it in your favor. And I think that's what they're alluding to at the beginning here. Democrats have sought to undermine the constitutional principle of one person, one vote. Again, hilarious, coming from a party that has either sat idly by or actively supported Donald Trump brazenly trying to do a coup and overthrow a Democratic election because he didn't like the result. These guys are unbelievable. Anyway, that's it, man. That's the whole agenda. It is a comically stupid one, and I think that's pretty clear. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.